Welcome to the Catholic Life Coach Podcast. My name is Carla Fitz. I am a certified life coach, wife, and mom of two beautiful little girls. My hope for this podcast is to offer support and empower other Catholic women to live their most authentic life, to share life coaching tools from a Catholic perspective in order to help you live a more fulfilling life filled with peace, joy, and abundance. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you guys in this beautiful gray and rainy day. This is one of those days in which I love rainy days. I don't know about you guys. I hear a lot of people that are like, oh goodness, I don't like it when it's rainy. I love it when the sun is out, but I also love it so much when it's rainy and cozy and I'm able to be in this office all cozied up and just sitting inside and enjoying the rain from within. Yes, I had very different plans this morning, and I actually wanted to share it with you guys and just share the story, what happened, because I think it will be a good beginning for this episode, for what we're going to talk about today. So this morning, I got up and I was super excited. We got to see baby yesterday, and I was so blessed to see that baby's doing good. And we found out that we are having a boy. And I am so happy and so thrilled and so thankful and so excited because we already have two girls. And my dream was always that we would have two girls and a boy. And I'm so thankful and so blessed that we are having our baby and baby's doing good. So yeah, I was just feeling really excited. I ran out the door because I had a doctor's appointment for my chiropractor. And I get out and I'm like, I'm going to go to the coffee shop. I packed my computer. I packed my Remarkable. I packed my headphones. I was all ready to go to a coffee shop and work. And I was super excited. And so I get out of the door and I go to my chiropractor. And then I'm leaving my chiropractor and it's pouring outside. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Now I can't go to the coffee shop. And I was just thinking, I have been practicing the thought, everything happens for a reason. Everything is happening for the best outcome that can be created. God is giving us exactly what we need when we need it. And so I got home. I was like, we're just gonna have an amazing day anyway and enjoy the rain from within the house and be cozy and not cold. So I was like, it's okay. We're going to look at the positive, right? So I get to the house and my sister gives me a call. And she goes, hey, so I noticed that they were doing some construction by the coffee shop that I was planning to go this afternoon. And she goes, it turns out that the coffee shop had some pipes that broke. So now I can't go to the coffee shop. And I'm so sad because I really wanted to go work at a coffee shop. And I laughed because it's like, what a beautiful thing when we are open to God's divine timing and God's divine appointments. I love to call them divine appointments and divine tasks because these are the things that we need to be willing to show up for, even though we didn't plan for. So even though I did not plan to hang out with my sister, I had planned to get some work done, and she had planned to get some work done in the afternoon at her favorite coffee shop on the other side of town. Turns out that neither of us were meant to be in either one, and instead we were meant to be together this afternoon in a different coffee shop. So I'm super excited for that. Okay, I'm going to pause because somebody's mowing. I have been thinking and wanting to do this episode for a while. I have been reading the book, The Gap and the Gain. And this book has been very eye-opening and phenomenal to read. Very easy read too. Highly recommend. But I wanted to make an episode talking about the gap and the gain, because this is something that I think we live in a day-to-day basis, but have no idea that we are doing that. And it has to do with basically what I just talked to you guys about, how I decided to focus on what was going well, trusting that God had a reason for why things were not going the way I expected them to go. So I wanted to utilize this space to teach you a little bit about the gap and the gain. This concept has impacted my life so much the past couple of weeks that I ended up teaching it to my girls during our homeschool day and drawing it out for them and spending time explaining to them how it is so important to know that there is an option for us to focus on the things that are going well or the things that we have achieved rather than the things that are not happening yet. Because when we are focused on what is not working, we are basically miserable all of the time. And so I just wanted to, like I said, utilize the space to share this concept with you. In a simple way, the gap and the gain is basically saying that we all have a bottom line. If you imagine going from the very bottom of the page going up, in the very bottom of the page, we have where we started. And then in the middle of the page, we have where we are at today. And at the top of the page, we have our ideal, like the scenario that we imagine would be like. And I'm going to give you an example. 4 years ago, I remember it was during COVID, I came to my husband and I said, honey, I want to go to Italy. I didn't want to just go to Italy for a couple of days. I wanted to move to Italy. I wanted to be able to be in Italy for long periods of time. And my husband at the time was like, are you insane? Naturally. How is that going to even happen? Because at the time he had his job that he loves and I had my job that I loved, but it was ending because of COVID as a teacher. And I was feeling called to be home more, but I didn't know how. And I was feeling called to go to Italy, but I didn't know how. I had no vision on how I would end up working from home, right? That was the very beginning. That was my start. That's where I was at in 2020 with the idea that I created in my head because of the Holy Spirit, because of God's nudges towards something that I really love, which is traveling in Italy. He created this beginning of a journey. It was the start. And then in the middle, like I said, is where we are at today. We are not in Italy. We got to go to Italy. But we are not living in Italy. We still live in Nebraska, and that's where we are at today. That's our reality. My ideal was that in 5 years, we would be living in Italy. And this is very vulnerable for me to even share with you because for the longest time, I have thought that that desire in my heart to be in Italy for long periods of time was just insane. And I believe that I wanted that in order to be happy. And I have realized that, no, I don't actually need to move to Italy to be happy. I am happy here. But that desire is very much present in my heart and in my mind. And so when we look at my starting place 20 years ago, 4 years ago in 2020, I was working in a 9-to-5 job. When we look at the reality for me today, I work from home. I get to work 2 days a week, and the other 3 days during the week, I get to be with my girls homeschooling them. But during that time, my best scenario was that I would be in Italy. And there are 2 points or 2 things that I can focus on. I can focus on the gap, or I can focus on the gain. When we focus on the gap is when we focus on the things that have not yet happened. I could be focused on, I'm not in Italy. I don't get to have amazing pizza during the week. I don't get to see all those beautiful buildings around me daily. We live in Lincoln. I could see that as a painful thing. I could choose to focus on the gap. But I could also choose to focus on the gain. When I focus on the gain, I see how much we have grown as a family in the past 4 years. When I choose to focus on the gain, I can see how far we have come, how I'm working from home, and because I work from home, I get to be with my girls more. I get to see that we got to go to Italy this past year for a couple of weeks, which we would have never done if that desire did not happen in 2020. And it's true that that ideal scenario might never happen. But if we never created that goal, or if we never chose to go after something bigger than us, we would have no gain. We would not grow in the way that we have if we never chose to have that goal. Another example that I gave to my husband, because this has been a struggle for me during this pregnancy. Back in 2020, I had my second daughter. And when I gave birth to my second daughter, I was almost 300 pounds. And I created a goal to get down to 188. That was my goal. That's the weight that I was in when I got married. My reality for my third pregnancy, and please note that the reason why I wanted to lose the weight was to be able to be present with my girls and to also be able to get pregnant in a healthy way. I did not want to end up weighing almost 300 pounds again because that was so difficult for me. And what happened, the actual reality was that I got pregnant at 200 pounds. So I had lost a whole 100 pounds, but my brain wanted to go to the gap. It wanted to go to the space in which I had not achieved that ideal goal. It wanted to say, well, you didn't get to the 188 and therefore you failed. When in reality, when I chose to look at my gain, how much I have grown, how much I have changed, and how much more healthy this pregnancy is, my reality completely changes. My mentality changes and my mood changes. I am no longer feeling defeated. I'm feeling accomplished. Yes, the 188 would have been the ideal, perfect scenario. But the fact that I got to get pregnant when I was 100 pounds lighter than I was in my last pregnancy, that is a huge win. And if we choose to focus on that gap and what we did not create and what we have not achieved yet, we miss all the wins. We miss all the successes that we have had up to now. And I think this is something that we can apply to our day-to-day life. This just happened to me this morning. My ideal scenario was that I was going to have an amazing coffee while I was working by myself, and it was going to be perfect. And it didn't work out. It started pouring. I couldn't go to the coffee shop. I just decided I could have gone, but I decided to come home, right? And in the meantime, yes, I missed out on being on the coffee shop this morning, but I gained being able to be here recording this podcast and then meeting with my sister this afternoon. It always works out for the best. And one of the ways that I have seen it be not the perfect scenario, but the perfect scenario in God's ways, is that when it comes to my weight, this was a huge thing for me to be able to experience being pregnant at 200 pounds and heal some things that were not healed in my mind when it came to my weight. It created this opportunity for me to see, you know what? I am not the same. My mind wanted to go, we are back to where we were at 4 years ago. But I've had the opportunity now, because I was not at that ideal weight, to grow some more, to create a better relationship with myself, with my body image. And when it comes to Italy, this has given me the opportunity, like not being in Italy right now, has given me the opportunity to fully appreciate where I am at today, to fully appreciate this home and our family and my husband's job and everything. Like, it's just, we have learned to appreciate it so much more. And we have been able to understand that we can be happy here, that we can have amazing pizza here. If you have not found some amazing pizza around you, go find it. There's some Italian pizzas that are true Italian pizzas. They're, oh, wow, fantastic. But find the pockets of joy. Look at your gain. Look at how far you have come from when you first started. Whatever that goal, that ideal goal was for you, look at how much you have gained in the process of achieving that goal. Doesn't mean you quit on the goal. It means you keep going, but the goal will continuously be evolving. Because as we grow, as we change, as we develop, our goals grow with us. I think we have a false belief that we said one goal and that goal never changes, and that's not true. Like, I remember back in the day when I was in college, my goal was to be a singer. And then I met my husband, and my goal was to be with my husband, to create a family with my husband. And then my goal was to buy a house for our family. And then it was to get a better job. And then it was to get a better house. That goal shifts. You are always meant to be in growth mode. But when we focus our attention on the gain instead of the gap, we can see the potential that we have for growth still and see how much we have grown in the past few years or in the past few months. It's a huge mind shift. And if you can practice, really do a deep dive into this. What was your beginning? Where did you start? Where are you at today? And what was your ideal scenario? And in between the start and where you are today, count the things that have shifted. Count the things in which you have grown, or the things that you have learned, or how you have changed. All of the things that you have gained in the process. And in between where you're at today and where you were wanting to be, that's your gap. That's where you have not achieved yet. But focus your attention on what you have gained so far. That will change your emotions and your perspective of life entirely. We will never achieve perfection, but it is all about the growth that we create in the process. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was so fun. I want to talk about it more, and I probably will talk about it more because it has been so life-changing. And yeah, the other thing that I wanted to mention is if you want to utilize this with your children, do it in a way that is simple for them. I did it very, very simple with my girls, in which I just said, hey, what was, this past Easter, it was a very simple story, but my girls were really struggling with this. Our ideal scenario was that we were going to go back to my in-laws and they were going to get to see their cousins. And instead we got sick. That was our reality. And they were focused on the gap. We did not get to see my cousins. We did not get to eat the candy with my cousins. And so they didn't stay there very long because they're children. But I wanted to teach them that gap and the gain so they can see it on purpose. And when they looked at their gain, they realized we get to see my aunt on this side and we get to paint beautiful murals. I don't know if that's the word. We painted this giant window pane with Easter and the cross and colors. And it was such an amazing family time. And they were able to see for themselves that they have a choice. They can choose to focus on what they did not get, which is the gap, or they can choose to focus on the gain, the things that they got to do instead. And I think it's also important to remember that the gap and the gain also represents what God's plan is for us. In not being perfect, in not achieving the ideal, we get to practice trusting that we are at the right place at the right time. All right, my friends, have an amazing rest of your week. And until next time, God bless. If you are ready to dive deeper into life coaching from a Catholic perspective, then make sure you schedule a free consultation. The link will be in the description. This is an opportunity for you to work with someone who will empower you and support you in all of your endeavors. This is a journey, and being together and working with someone who believes in you is life-changing. So if you're interested in growing and creating faith-driven success, make sure to reserve a time to chat with me. Until next time, God bless.